Hello, welcome to episode 9 of our discussion series of No Holds Barred Pod. That's Sal Dodgson over there.
Hello.
Hi, and I'm Don McGowan, and we got another guest for you this week. What are you making faces for, Sal?
Because you said hi to me.
I'm just saying hi in general. See, this is right. We haven't even got to our guest yet, but this is our podcast format. Is like we just end up rambling. But so we haven't even made it through the intro. But yeah, so we got a special guest in again this week to talk about his special subject. So I'll let him introduce himself now, and then we'll just crack on and have a chat. So over to you.
Hello, so my name's Ollie. I work in data protection in the NHS, and I've worked in data protection for about 6 years now. And I don't know how entertaining GDPR will be for a podcast topic, but I suppose we'll all find out over the next.
It's going to be very
hour or so.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because, since I met you, I've realised how much trouble people can get into not understanding GDPR.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, but I know that Don, who's far more up on these sorts of businesses than I, will have better questions than what I does.
Well, yeah, let's start with GDPR. Like it could potentially be a little bit of a dry subject, but I think there's more interest than we.
Can you just tell me what it stands for?
Well, I'll let Ollie talk about that if he wants, and where it came from, if you don't mind.
Yeah. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. It was.
Oh, that's boring.
It was first tabled in.
I could have got that.
You could have guessed.
But this is the entrance exam, right? This is so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was introduced.
If you know what the initials, the initials are. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
That actually reminds me of I remember I went for a data protection job once, and it was like one of them pre-exam things, and it was like, what does Article 29 mean? What does Article 89 mean? And it's like,
right.
I don't know. I don't know. I just you just learn to know what each thing does. But no, you probably know it more as the Data Protection Act. So the original Data Protection Act was brought in 1998 and was sort of a follow-on from things like the Computer Misuse Act. That was then ratified in 2018 to complement GDPR, which is EU legislation. When we left the EU, there was a big hoo-ha about a thing called data adequacy. So in GDPR, you've got to the EU basically decides whether it can trust you with people's personal data. If we hadn't have got data adequacy, that would have meant like quite a lot of things would have switched off overnight. Things like Twitter and YouTube and a lot of other sort of factors were.
That might solve all our problems.
Yeah, it might actually.
Would have been nice.
I mean, banking would be back to the Stone Age, so at least the branches will stay open. But yeah. So that was then. That was around April 2021, and that's when you might hear the term UK GDPR. So basically, what the Tory government's sort of solution to it was, we'll just Control-C on GDPR, Control-V, take out the European bits, add British bits in. And we'll be able to celebrate this as new groundbreaking legislation when it's really just EU legislation.
Copy paste.
Copy paste. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I think the most noticeable thing that people would remember from GDPR coming in was like the incessant cookie banners that we have to cope with on every website that we visit. And when you put websites together now, you have to have all this sort of regulation, otherwise you get in big trouble. But the cookie banners is kind of like the way in, I reckon, on a sort of entry level of people going, oh yeah, accept cookies, accept cookies, accept cookies. You must accept. But that all stemmed out of GDPR, didn't it? And the legislation beginning.
Oh, partially. So
yeah,
there's GDPR and a lot of cookies regulation. GDPR is tied to. There's a lesser known one called PECA, which stands for Pan-European Communications Regulations. That's a lot of what governs cookies. That also governs a lot of, say, marketing emails that that you might get sent by, I don't know, someone you've bought a product from or signed up to a service from.
Okay.
That's a lot of the cookie banners. It's actually to do with PECA rather than GDPR, but it's both regulated by the same regulator. So it's
right, got you.
in effect the same legislation.
Similar but different in a way. Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Cool. Yeah, because back in the olden days, I used to do web design, like when did I start doing that? Like 1998 or something, back in the wild west of web design. And now I've just finished putting together the pod website, and the amount of GDPR and terms and conditions and, the stuff that you have to include by law is changed dramatically. So, yeah. I wanted to ask a bit more about the politics of it all, right? So,
yeah.
I did a bit of an article about Nigel Farage and one of his websites that he was selling, a competition website for shirts. And I thought at that point he'd fallen foul of GDPR regulations. And I wrote to the Electoral Commission, and they never actually returned any of my emails or freedom of information. Well, not in any detail. How are they able to get away with this stuff? Really, that is the thing. I think to me, it seems like they put up micro websites all the time, and then they just pull them down like after 3 weeks, a month, whatever.
Like the Motability one.
Yes, exactly, that sort of thing. People seem to be skirting the laws on it and kind of getting away with it, but the penalties are quite fierce, aren't they, on it?
Yeah, I mean, you can get fined up to 4% of your annual income. So some of the really big fines that make the news, like the TikTok fine, Facebook fine, that go into the hundreds of millions of pounds. I think in terms of, to go back to the question of how you're allowed to get away with it. So in GDPR, one of the requirements is you essentially register as a data controller. That gets quite complicated in politics because it's actually free data controllers. So use an example of, let's say you have a local, I don't know, Labour Party branch or Reform branch. So, and there's an MP that's elected as part of that branch. So you have the MP as a data controller to handle like casework that comes in to for speeches in Parliament, things like that. The local party is also a data controller, and then the national party is also a data controller. Now, you're not mandated to say, if I'm setting up a website, you're not mandated to tie it to that particular data controller. So what can happen is you can set up a website, process personal data, retain it, say have like a privacy notice that says we're going to keep this for the rest of your life, and then just have keep rolling with that, so you can keep sort of setting up a series of websites and then potentially process data that way. And if anyone actually questioned it, you could turn around and go, well, you consented to it. Now you can withdraw consent, but then there's a trust mechanism involved of, do you trust people to actually delete that data? That's what that fella in, was it Portsmouth, got in trouble for, who's a Reform candidate? Because he did a survey. He was doing some kind of satisfaction survey while he was a Portsmouth independent candidate. And then he ended up sending a load of marketing emails promoting his restaurant using the same data list.
Did he?
And he got in trouble.
How do we not know about this, Don?
No, I didn't know about that. No, that's news.
This is news to us.
It is. This is good.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the guy, but if you Google Reform UK Portsmouth data protection, the news story comes up where it's like, he collected all this information, tell me what needs sorting out in the ward, and he also had a restaurant, and he was basically saying 2 for 1 on main courses on Fridays. But a lot of the time people go to the wrong place. So a lot with going to the election commission.
Yeah.
The election commission might turn around and go, it's not really for us to decide. It's for the ICOs to decide.
The ICO?
Yeah.
Information Commissioner's Office,
Yeah, but then something really interesting happens with like, because there's a load of exemptions in GDPR. So safeguarding is an obvious one. So if you have safeguarding information, GDPR in certain areas is exempt to make sure that like the child or vulnerable adult is protected. But often in GDPR it says it's only for the purpose of that safeguarding information. Now for safeguarding, that's really easy because you've got things like keeping children safe in education, working together to safeguard children, that defines what is safeguarding activity and what isn't. There's an exemption for political activity, but who gets to say what counts as political activity and or what not? Is that just leafleting down the street? Is that surveys like the fellow Reform got in trouble with? And it becomes quite a subjective thing where someone might argue that it can be political activity. Some people might argue that it's not.
So, oh God, that's a bit like Farage's 5 million, where he's saying it was non-political activity money. God, there's no. It's.
So whose call is that?
Yeah, exactly. Is it like that the ICO's call?
Who's the big god that gets to choose?
I suppose it would be for the ICO to determine, which often means someone like me who is a caseworker, who, you know, my previous job before working in data protection was working in the call center, because the ICO does massive recruitment rounds almost every quarter now, it feels like, because it's so behind on its casework that it says on their website, when you make a complaint, you will get an outcome within 3 months. I think when I started there in 2020, it was about 5 or 6 months. It's now 9 months.
Right.
There's even companies, when they're reporting
So you might still hear back from them, Don.
Yeah, you might do.
Maybe. It was only Christmas last year, so yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
another institution that isn't fit for purpose.
Well, there's something I could talk about with the ICO. Because one of the things Andy Burnham's in tray is he's going to have to recruit a new information commissioner.
Right.
Because it got buried under the whole because it came out around the same time as the Keir Starmer melodrama happened. That the information commissioner's resigned, and the reason that he's resigned is he withdrew from his role back in February, but it wasn't made public until April, because Politico got hold of the fact that he'd voluntarily stepped aside for a HR investigation. 2 weeks ago he resigned, and Liz Kendall did a big piece on LinkedIn, of all things, talking about how there was a lot of vulgar and misogynistic language, and it was completely unacceptable. Like, almost like not directly saying misconduct in public office, but sort of skirting towards that. And it's, there's a question about whether we'd even have a new commissioner, because one of the things about the Data Use and Access Bill is the Information Commissioner's Office is changing to an Information Commission, which leaves possibly scope for you not having a commissioner and having, say, more of a traditional chief executive model.
Right.
So we might actually end up in a situation where we just have a deputy commissioner holding the fort, rather than going out and hiring someone for, pretty sure it's an 8-year term that someone serves as information commissioner.
Yeah.
They're waiting for a crionist to come along and apply.
It'll probably be some
just asking questions.
Yeah, I just sort of quickly Googled there about the information commissioner. Yeah, his name's John Edwards, and it turns out he's actually suing the woman who accused him of sexual harassment. That was 8th of July, so 2 days ago. Yeah. John Edwards, minister appalled, so this is Liz Kendall that you just mentioned, as the ex-data watchdog prepares to sue woman who raised harassment concerns. So he's fighting back against her, whoever reported him for being a lech. Fucking hell. That's a bit off.
Is he suing her directly? Because
that looks like it. That's what the Guardian's saying. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm going to quickly skim it. Yeah, understood to be taking legal action against a woman who flagged his conduct. So he must be suing her directly for whatever he's saying. He obviously wasn't.
That's really two-faced, that, because his whole so in his whole resignation speech, he was like saying, I don't agree with this process, but I understand it has to be taken.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall on my sword and walk away. Meanwhile, he's having like backroom conversations with lawyers talking about how I'm going to sue someone who reported it as an employment issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it says Liz Kendall said she was appalled by the fact that John Edwards was preparing to serve legal papers on one of the incredibly brave women at the ICO who had raised concerns about his behaviour.
She's always appalled, though. I wouldn't read anything into that.
Kendall told the Science, Innovation and Technology Select Committee on Wednesday that she had seen the vulgar and highly sexualized language that was used in Edwards' interactions with his staff. She was offended, shocked and uncomfortable. Yeah, that sounds rough, doesn't it? I mean, if he's been resigned in inverted commas after the result of the investigation and now suing the woman who brought it up, that's just grim, isn't it? Not
Maybe they know
nice.
things we don't.
But it's also it also means that it's in the gift of Labour. If there is going to be a new commissioner, it's in the gift of Labour to appoint it, because Edwards was. I mean, the committee is who sort of ratifies it, but it would be Edwards was a Conservative hire. Liz Denham was a Conservative hire. There's been, shall we say, frustrations outside of whatever's gone on internally. There's been frustrations with things like the public sector approach, where public sector organisations do not receive fines anymore. And there's a logic behind it of you don't want, say I don't know, DWP gets fined, that then goes into DSIT's budget because it's the ICO who's fined them, and then that money ends up back in DWP's budget for the following year. But at the same time, it's like, do you remember a couple of years ago there was a big breach at the MOD involving is it Afghan soldiers or Afghan civilians?
The interpreters, I remember that. Yeah, it's huge. It's going to cost billions, isn't it? Like £2 or £3 billion to.
Yeah, so that's an example of like where there hasn't been a fine, and there's a lot of like, I think there's a lot of worrying that it's kind of de-skilling the profession, because if you don't have that ability, or if you consciously choose to not fine organizations for breaches like this, a lot of CEOs are just going to turn around and think we don't need to take this seriously. And then that's how you end up with like people with quite advanced, or people with quite advanced knowledge earning not a lot of money, which again probably makes me sound like a snivelling Tory, but it's like it's quite a specialised profession, and there's job adverts like deputy DPOs at government departments where it's like 35 grand a year, and you just think like, for the stress that's involved,
it's not a lot,
and the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
And the understanding.
Yeah, there's ones where it's like
that's sort of assistant manager of Lidl kind of rate, isn't it? I mean, that's not a lot of money really at all, is it?
The establishment aren't very good at being held to account, are they?
No,
they're
not. They're very good at.
You're probably very accurate.
Yeah, or it's sometimes I wonder whether with the commissioner, whether sort of the backlog's by design, because there's been a lot of like criticism or tacit criticism, particularly from the previous government, about FOI, and about how there was a closing of effectively a more of a closed shop mentality in response to FOI requests, which interestingly enough, someone asked under Freedom of Information for the investigation report into John Edwards' departure and investigation, they chose not to release it, which seems quite ironic.
Seems discretionary.
Well, it goes against ICO precedent, because the last, again, inverted commas, scandal, because this is a good example of just like right-wing hysteria. So back in 2020, as a bit of a thank you to workers at the ICO, they sent everyone a box of chocolates from Hotel Chocolat. So just like a little box. It's like a Merry Christmas, thanks for working here. I know it's been really difficult because of COVID.
Enjoy your bonus.
Yeah, enjoy your bonus, enjoy your pizza party.
Exactly,
I think they used a corporate credit card for it. So they had to declare it as an expense. The Daily Mail got wind of it and then published that like some greedy Mandarin has spent £5,000 on chocolate or £10,000 or whatever.
I see, right.
I just gave my box to me nan, thinking, it'll be a nice little bonus Christmas present for her.
Yeah.
But do you know what really makes me annoyed about that? There was an FOI that was made into that investigation, and the ICO did disclose that. The investigation cost 30 grand. So when they're talking about like value for money and championing the taxpayer, but it cost for every pound they spent on chocolates, they had to spend £3 marking the homework on whether it was appropriate to buy chocolate.
That's madness. But it does remind me of
the government.
When you say it's by design, it reminds me of every government department I've ever rung in the last decade, and like public service. In fact, every point of contact I've probably ever rung up, they're mad busy right now. And you've rung at a very busy time, and I'm terribly sorry, but we don't have enough people to... Well, it's been 10 years. I thought one of you might at some point have taken on some more people, but no. Because this is how society is being industrialised. Fuck the plebs. Let them crack on.
Yeah. It's just interesting, the ICO, and you said, the backlog. I wrote an article, I can't even remember if it was this year or last year, about the government, the regulators our country is sort of run by, and the fact that there's 122, I think, separate regulators that sort of look after our country, something like that. I'll find my article in a minute. But it was mainly based around Ofcom and how Ofcom has 1,500 staff, and their remit is broadband internet, mobile phones, the post office, radio, TV, and the internet. Like, regulate the whole of the internet. And they've got 1,500 guys down there going, oh, fuck me. So it's just like, I assume the ICO, like Sal just said as well, every department is run on the same basis of just like 10 people trying to fix everything. It just seems like
juggling
such a
and getting stressed and getting ill as they do it.
Well, I used to be one of those people, and I remember once.
In Ofcom?
No, in the ICO.
Oh,
so
I used to work at the ICO.
Yeah, I was a case officer at the ICO. I think there was at one point, not long before I left. So they used to say, like, it'd be normal for you to have 10 to 15 open cases. One point, I think I had 82 open cases not long before I left. And it's just completely unmanageable.
Yeah, you can't sustain that, can you? That's just nonsense, isn't it? You just can't work at that level of stress and work. You have to be working 24 hours a day and still not take a chunk out of it.
That's what social workers are like, isn't it?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, so we got a bit off track on GDPR, but it's all very interesting because it all kind of ties into the same thing. So, yeah.
The thing as well about Ofcom, sorry, if we're going off piece, why not keep going?
Yeah, no, absolutely fine.
What's it called again? The Online Safety Act is the real bee in my bonnet. And I'm not saying that because I'm against the idea of children staying safe online, because I am.
Of course.
But the thing about that is, so there's a very easy way you can do that, which is you can have, say, you could have like a bit that goes into the phone's computer on your mobile, and that can act as like a verification based off. I mean, we've all done like biometric or like Face ID on lock screens, which could then be tied into the architecture of the phone.
Like a hardware-based code, like verification.
There's a hardware-based solution for that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the way we've designed the legislation means that a lot of the time you have to have a software-based solution. And for an example, like I was making, I came prepared. I did homework. I did notes. So Yossi is one of the software companies that does this age verification. Yossi was fined $1.1 million by the Spanish data protection regulator earlier in the year for breaches in relation to biometric data processing. Basically, it wasn't communicating clearly enough whether it was retaining a scan of your face in relation to how you access the system, or how you verify your age. There's another one where the other big one is Persona. So this is the one Reddit and Discord uses. Persona is based in the United States, so all of a sudden your data's going over to the United States. One of the things about US data protection law, and I can start seeing men in black suits just appearing behind me in the window.
There's someone right behind you. Who's that?
No, but it's not a federal law. There's no federal data protection law. So you're essentially data protection law in the States is done state by state. So California has its own one. New York has one, but it's all complete pot law based off where that provider has its data center. Where that data is going to end up. So if you're unhappy with how that data has been handled, and you're unless it's in California, good luck trying to make a complaint to someone, because your best bet would be getting in touch with the Attorney General. Now, I don't know who the Attorney General of Wyoming is, but
exactly.
Are they going to be the most helpful in relation to a rather niche data protection concern?
No, from the UK.
Probably likely.
No, of course. Wow,
so
that's nuts.
How does that work in relation to the Supreme Court ruling the other week?
About that big company that we're not talking about.
No, we're not going to talk about that company that we're infiltrated by. But there was a Supreme Court ruling the other week that took away any independent data oversight. Which is when it started hitting the news that certain politicians were claiming they were going to extract us from this issue. But it wasn't their call. It was because Europe's data is no longer safe in America because they removed that statute from the books.
Oh,
I'm getting mixed up, but it was something like that.
So
it's basically Doge cuts, I think.
It's a bit of US EU data adequacy is it's a bit like the old Nescafe coffee adverts. You never know when it's quite on, and you never know when it's quite off. So
nice, like that.
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this, but so there is a series of cases called Schrems cases, which was in either the German or the Austrian court. Basically, you used to have this thing called the data bridge. So it's the EU-US data bridge. This was back when we were in the EU, and you could that was an agreement that those governments had, so you could send data across. And then Schrems 1 happened, and then that data bridge, got torched basically. The Western's dynamite
burned that bridge,
burned down, completely gone. And then there was a later adequacy framework, and then there was Schrems 2, which then got rid of that. Now there's something called the Data Protection Framework, which is it's a semi-voluntary scheme that if a company is based in the US, it can sign up for, and it can do. You have like a series of like audit requirements and things like that. And You can mark your own homework basically, and then go, yeah, this is fine. But now there's a Schrems free that's challenging that. So it's like a Star Wars trilogy of dodgy dodgy data protection frameworks.
Right. Wow. I'm still like kind of. Go on, sorry, Sal.
I was going to ask, do you think it's like ignorance or malice? Or both?
Both. I think that the thing about GDPR is it's sometimes really difficult to spot when something might be a GDPR issue, or it might be really difficult to understand how that legislation applies in, I don't know, if you're a startup in Utah and you're, I don't know, selling dream catchers or something like that. And I want to buy a dream catcher. I do actually want to buy a dream catcher. I do like them.
No.
What's wrong with you? Wait, a dream catcher's
My mum
bad?
had them. My mum used to have them. I don't think they catch any dreams, love. They just look tacky in your window.
Oh, it's okay.
So
I hardly have any dreams. As you can probably tell by the fact I can talk about
Utah.
No, but like, who's telling that person, oh, you need to think about like legislation from halfway across the world when you're selling dream catchers or crochet for like $20 or something like that, and should it? Because if you've got like a independent shop and you just want to like sell your things, you don't really want someone coming in and saying like, okay, you need to have the same sort of mitigations as AWS or or M365 or all these big tech conglomerates. So is it by design? I think there's an element of almost like behavioral psychology that goes on where people hear that acronym and get a bit fearful, and it ends up being a barrier to actually doing good things with information because people get petrified. And really, legislation is about getting the bad guys, right? So I love it when I remember getting a parking ticket once, and this is like where it is handy now in GDPR, because I almost got off on the parking ticket once because this company's data protection policies were that bad, and I dragged it out for that long. I'm now convinced that company made a loss on issuing me the parking ticket. Yeah, because
then it was worth it.
Oh yeah, the subject access request, the information rights concern, going to the regulator, appealing the ticket. I made them spend their money's worth on trying to.
You gave them a hotel chocolate moment.
Yeah.
Nice. Hit them with both barrels of regulations.
Yeah. See, I knew this would be fascinating.
Yeah, but so what's like, that's quite interesting, because as a person, a lay person, we wouldn't understand that we have these rights within the GDPR system. So yeah, you're right. It goes, it's designed to sort of protect us, as it were. But then we have certain rights where we can request information and things like that. Is that right? We can like ask subject access requests and things like that. We can ask for our data. How does that work now?
Well, at its core, you can ask anyone to make a subject access. You can ask anyone at a data controller for a copy of your data. I could do it right now for entertainment purposes of this pod, but I don't think it would be that entertaining. No, but you have the right, like, you could go up to your doctor's surgery, for instance, as an example, and say, I want a copy of like my blood test results. And they would have to give the personal data related to it, which realistically is going to be the entire thing. Normally it works through it would work through email, so you just send like an email,
Okay.
then they should respond within calendar month and either provide you with that data, or they can extend it by an extra 2 months if it's deemed to be a complex request. But again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Who gets to define what a complex request is? It's a data controller.
Oh, really? So in the example of Reform UK, Nigel Farage could be the arbiter of that decision as the MP for Reform.
Yeah.
And
this happened with, do you remember the Ford report on Labour? So that ended up in the ICO, and there was a wave of Labour members who made subject access requests to the Labour Party, and they said that, oh, this is a complex request, so you're gonna have to wait 2 extra months, and then they'd come back and it would be like you could fit it on the side of A4, the personal data that was disclosed.
So not a complex request at all.
No.
No,
and there's somewhat. And
so they were just using that as an excuse to buy time, basically, effectively.
Yeah, as someone who sat in Southside and just gone, right, all of those requests are complex. Good luck getting any information from them that isn't like your most basic membership number and sign-up details.
Yeah.
Or it might have been, I applied to be a case officer for an MP many years ago, so I got a setting side. That was my bonus side of A4.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. So they held more details on you than a normal member, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, that's interesting. I'm still sort of staggered by the fact that our facial recognition data could be off in Alaska or something, in some random data center somewhere that we could never get hold of, or very unlikely to get hold of.
In the case of Persona, it's not just for age. So a vendor, if they're using Persona for which people know as an age verification software, I think there's up to 267 registers that company has access to that it can check you against. And
so, for example, what sort of
that
stuff, like biometrics
wrong.
and
or just general kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Electoral roll and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, something. Sorry, this is not good content, I'm aware. But
this is what we do. Don't worry, Kakarot.
It is what we do. Yeah.
Oh no, it's not 267. It's 269. So it can check things like terrorism registers, espionage registers,
high level stuff.
Oh yeah, like
that's top of the tree kind of like vetting, isn't it? Really?
Yeah,
that's military-industrial complex. That sorry, but it is.
Yeah, most likely. I'm on a. Because there was a big thing earlier in it might have been last year or earlier this year, where Persona's whole front end was basically accessible.
Was it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. 269 individual verification checks across 14 check types, including selfie suspicious entity detection. What's
that mean?
Yeah. What makes your face suspicious?
Yeah. Random. Oh God, that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, this is
all a bit Black Mirror.
I was about to say, this is where all the kind of like whoa, that didn't come out right. Tinfoil hat brigade.
First one today, though. Well done.
I know. I managed to get through nearly 2 hours of not spooning my words. It's amazing, but I'm getting hot. But yeah, the tinfoil hat
him, it's me.
You can see how that could sort of trigger some serious conspiracy theories, couldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Right. Wow. Hang on a minute.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
Well,
I say conspiracy theories. It's Charles'
I had to
trigger
give a
word.
lecture to the pod the other week on conspiracy theories, because if you take the two words just with their general meanings and then put them back together, it's just that we think some people are working together to do something. Let's just take the fucking out of conspiracy theories. There's clearly a fucking conspiracy afoot. It's everywhere. And this is just people behaving in the same manner of that conspiracy.
Yeah.
What is the end game then? Because it clearly isn't just to protect people's fucking data, is it?
Well,
clearly,
I would argue it never was. There's mechanisms you can. There's one going through the government right now, which is again based off that hardware-based solution, where it would block someone who was under 18 from being able to take indecent images of themselves, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And a simple solution that you don't need to send millions, because the data entries for this now would be absolutely millions. And I remember when it came in, and I've spent an hour and not mentioned James O'Brien, and I blow hot and cold.
He's Don's favourite person.
No, he's not.
I blow hot and cold
he's
with
not.
James O'Brien. Because he was doing it live, and it was like he was doing the whole thing of, oh yeah, it's tinfoil if you don't believe in this. And the first caller that he had on that day was basically making the exact same points about this is going to have millions of data entries into the United States, which then, potentially brings it under scope of things like the Patriots Act and all kinds of information that, like, the NSA, which has got in trouble for this shit before, all the millions of instances of data that's now going to be stored in a data center, hopefully in California, where there's at least some regulation. But if it's in, like, I think half the US states don't have data, like, any regulation in this stuff. And it's just going to
end up in like Indiana or something, and there's nothing to stop it being.
Or somewhere like Utah, which doesn't have any kind of data protection legislation to speak of, which also is by complete chance the most Republican state in the last elections. Certainly a very
massive coincidence.
Yeah, certainly a very Republican state. I'm not saying for definite it is in Utah, by the way, but what is that information going to be used? Because first of all, there's like the sort of the whole kind of privacy concerns. Secondly, Persona's an interesting one, because Persona has a partnership with OpenAI.
It's ChatGPT,
yeah, and we've learned, like, I learned the other week that when like little old student me was out there waltzing, playing Pokemon Go, like trying to get a Mr. Mime, that, like, I was training an AI.
Yeah.
Sal talked about that on the pod a few months ago. Yeah. That's crazy, the Pokemon
You were
Go
working
thing.
for them for fuck all, like everybody else was.
Yeah. I was building a whole neural network of information based off where I was capturing Pokemon. And another one as well is, like,
didn't they use it as a Google Street Map thing or something? That was what it was for, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a world building, world mapping type thing.
Oh, I've lost my thread now, isn't it? Oh, that was
audacious as shit.
And another one, that was it. Another one that gets me is when you have, like, the communications teams of these big companies now, and they're commenting on people's social media posts and things like that, and people think, oh ho ho, what a laugh. In reality, it's just free advertising for the company. And there was there was someone I saw, I think it was on YouTube the other day, how someone has now sent an invoice to eBay, charging them like thousands of pounds for saying, you've used my platform for free advertising. FYI, it's not free. Here's the bill.
Yeah. Oh God, fair enough. I just had a quick search there.
Like a good way of doing it.
the persona thing is part of Roblox as well. That's what they used Roblox. Roblox uses persona, it says here, which is quite a worry because that brings children into the mix, doesn't it? Because my son, as a 12-year-old, likes Roblox. But let's just talk about their sort of front end being just sort of left open. That's quite scary if they're sort of letting the data of children out in the open as well.
And then there's a question about lobbying, because these companies didn't spring up overnight. Yossi was founded, I think, in like 2013 or something like that.
Oh, right.
So
okay. Long time ago.
The USP is not new.
No.
It almost feels like there's been planning and preparation for this in private sector for quite a while. And if I think you mentioned in the last like the last podcast about or the last one at the time of recording about monopolies involving Comcast and ITVX.
Oh yes, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Where's like the Monopolies Commission when it comes to age verification? And in fact, if you looked at computing in a wider sort
Overall.
of setting, like you really only have two main players now. So you have AWS and you have Microsoft in relation to Azure and M365. Or in terms of hardware, you have Intel, AMD, NVIDIA. And and a lot of the time, a lot of the components that are being used for these data centers will come from those big three. That's why NVIDIA's market cap at the minute is absolutely enormous. It's something in the trillions, because so much of AI supply is built on having hardware from these big companies. So they have made absolutely shitloads of money, not only selling that hardware, but they've also used it to justify keeping the price of that hardware expensive.
Really high,
That's why games consoles are going, like 6-year-old games consoles are going up in price. And there was a massive RAM shortage last year because so much RAM was being needed to power the memory of these AI data centers that it meant that like a terabyte, not a terabyte. You'd be very lucky if you had a terabyte of RAM. I'd want to come down to your house and play games.
That would be quick.
No, but even things like 8 gigabytes of RAM became astronomically expensive in just a few short weeks. Yeah,
it was. I remember that happening. My son kept telling me about it. He's more across this than I am at the moment as a 12-year-old boy who's into gaming. But yeah, it's definitely. But I saw, that's all Apple have just hiked all their prices again on the basis of that as well. I think recently it's that sort of creating their own demand in order to ramp up the price of everything. It's crazy. Yeah. But as you say, the Monopolies Commission, ineffective, like we were talking about last week. So
it's like
we've been stitched up all around, aren't we?
We need to bring back Rumbelows, because when you were talking about Donald Trump, and you were talking about Donald Trump and football. Oh dear,
football,
the American World Cup's got to me. Donald Trump was on Saint and Greavesy, the old program.
I know. I've seen that
he
clip.
Did the draw for the Rumbelows Cup.
That's it. I remember saying that. Yeah. About 1986 or something.
That's impressive.
Have you not seen this?
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, maybe when I was 8.
Yeah, it did the rounds on Twitter a couple of years back. I think I saw it, and it was it's from about 86 or 85, somewhere around that period, wasn't it? And the Rumbelows Cup draw. Yeah.
And he's like,
I'm awfully sorry.
What's up, Sal?
Oh, why won't my TV rewind? That's annoying. Sorry, there's just been
Have you been watching the Rumbelows Cup draw?
No. It's just news just in. The 26-year-old white British man that was arrested, the police have ruled out a terror attack.
Yeah, not terrorism.
Yeah, I think we ruled that out ourselves. But they just showed a picture of Anne Widdecombe, like, working from home in what looks like something worse than my house.
Yeah.
What's that?
She might be one of these really frugal people that doesn't spend any money.
Oh no, she just doesn't.
I mean, my backdrop is so lovely and detail rich, and you can take out so much of my life.
Yeah,
I've got a clock up there that doesn't work, as you'll probably be able to tell in the edit.
She was surrounded by stuff. Just didn't expect it. It surprised me. I thought, you think these very wealthy people would have like house proud homes, but no.
So with that being said, I'm aware of the time anyway, so I think maybe we should kind of wrap a little bit. But
it's been fascinating. The bits
really
I understood.
Yeah, no, that's it. But it's so intrinsically linked into our daily lives now, as you were sort of explaining, Ollie, like, with everything, with the verification, with websites, with phones, everything becomes part of this wider GDPR ecosphere, isn't it? So yeah, it sort of touches absolutely everything. You have to be aware of data all the time and how it's used. So,
I don't. Just to end on a bit of confrontation, I don't think you should have to be aware of it.
No?
I think you should be able to go through life and be able to trust the people services that you engage with to handle this information responsibly. And if they're not handling it responsibly, then they should be called out. And we need a regulator that does that in good time, and then we actually need people to be able to be able to have the legal resolutions that Article 79 of GDPR says that you should be able to get, because you're entitled to go to court and you're entitled to compensation.
Okay.
But you're waiting 6-9 months for an ICO confirmation, because often when you go to small claims will turn around and go, well, we want the regulators for you first. So then you're waiting 9 months for that. And then you're waiting God knows how long for a small court date here at the moment. And the process, it's funny, just to tie it back to something Sal said earlier, it's like everything in public life has become so attritional.
Yeah.
Like the amount of energy required to actually engage in the public sector, particularly around regulation, is not sustainable for a population that is really tired and really frustrated and really ground down
in everything they do. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Yeah, so
totally agree.
Yeah, no, let's
Told
see.
you he was good.
Yeah, well, let's see what Andy Burnham's got when he comes in, but that would be something that it depends what happens with this information commissioner, as you mentioned earlier. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, go on, Si. What were you going to say?
No.
I was just going to wrap it up, and you just no. Okay, fine. I'll wrap it up.
That's right.
All right. No, listen, thanks for coming in, Ollie. It's been absolutely fascinating and really appreciate that.
Thanks, mate.
It really genuinely been a really interesting chat. And I think stuff that I didn't know, stuff that the public won't know. And so hopefully a benefit to everybody. So, yeah, appreciate that. Cheers.
Oh, thanks. All right,
appreciate that, dude. So we sign off and we will see our viewers in a few days.
Sounds given up.
I'm melting here. I don't know what's going on. I've been sat on a faux leather sofa for 2 hours in 38 million degrees heat.
My faux leather office chair is boiling my back.
I'm made up that my hair hasn't started wilting, because one of the things, that's why I've slicked it back. Because if I don't do that, it would have started wilting in the sweat.
Yeah, I lose lots of fucks in this weather, I'm afraid. So mine's just dragged back off my face. But,
So
on
with
that
that,
bombshell.
on those bombshells. Sorry?
I was just saying to Sal, you had fucks to give.
Yeah.
I'm a menopausal woman. I can't control them, to be honest.
No. A bit sporadic.
I have as few as possible.
Yeah. Right. Let's say goodbye then. We'll wrap it up. So, thanks again for coming in, Ollie. Really appreciate that. And
cheers, dude. Do like, share, subscribe, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. And we'll get this out we'll probably get this out early next week. This episode will drop. So, cheers.
Sweet.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.